Hi, Terry Hay here from Shock Treatment. Once again, we're continuing our tech tips, and today what we're going to be talking about is air filters. Now, everyone knows that an air filter is designed to keep dust out of the motor, but one of the things we often disregard is the performance element of air filters. Now, with the air filter, one of the most important aspects that we've got here is not just the filtration of the air itself, trying to keep all the dust particles out of the motor, but it's also very responsible for airflow through the engine. Now, people will happily go out and spend a lot of money on exhaust pipes, and they'll spend a lot of money getting performance tuning done to their motors when it comes to porting, valve jobs, etc. And what that's all about is getting the air into the motor, processed, and then out of the motor most effectively. But one of the things we often disregard is the actual flow that we get through the air filter itself. Okay, we've already pre-soaked this unit in kerosene. Okay, I'd certainly recommend kerosene or turpentine for pre-soaking your filter to actually remove or dissolve all the old filter oil. And you don't want to use anything more aggressive than that, certainly not petrol. If you put this in petrol, what can happen is it can dissolve the glue in the air filter itself. Once we get a split in there, if the seam comes apart, the filter's not going to do its job and we could easily lunch a motor. So after that, what we're now going to do is put it into the warm soapy water. Okay, so we've got our container here with warm soapy water. So what we're going to do is we're going to soak this in here and basically massage it. That will get rid of any of the kerosene, any traces of old oil, and certainly any traces of dirt. So once we've got this done, we're then going to dry it as good as we can. But here's a little tip, we're not going to dry it completely. Everyone that I've seen in the past has always said, dry your filters completely, okay, hang them out in the sun, and basically let the things get rid of any moisture possible. What I would like to do is I would like to have this filter performing at its utmost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze as much moisture out of here as possible, but I'm not going to let it dry completely. I'll then take the filter and I'll put a couple of rags on it, and I'll squeeze this into the rag, allowing the rag to absorb as much moisture as possible. And now this is quite dry, but you can still feel the dampness in it. Now, that little bit of trace water that's still in here, we're actually going to use that as a vehicle to help distribute all the oil through the filter. Now, I've seen people put filters into buckets full of oil. I've seen people take a plastic bag and basically soak as much oil into the filter as possible. What we're going to do is use a very, very small amount. And you'll see straight away that because we've got the moisture in there, a small amount of oil will distribute right through the whole filter. And remember, your engine's got to breathe through this thing. So if we were to get out there and run around a motocross track ourselves for 30 minutes and we had to breathe through this, we probably wouldn't want more oil than what was completely necessary just to collect the dust. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit of oil around this sealing lip as well. And now what we'll do is we'll massage this through. Soaking it all up. What will happen is the oil itself will actually displace any remaining moisture in there. Now, when it comes to oil on the filter, all we want is enough to catch the dust and no more. If we've got more oil on our filter than what's required to catch the dust, guess what? We're actually hindering the airflow into the motor, and all that expense that you went to get that pipe or to have that porting mod done, it's probably going to waste. Now, one of the things that we'll find is that if we've got restriction at the air filter, it'll also mess with that air-fuel ratio. So you could not only be robbing the performance of your pipe and the performance of your port job, but your fueling's going to be out. So that's going to make a big difference to our overall performance. Now you can see here what we're doing is we're squeezing out the moisture that was remaining in there. Plus a little bit of oil. And what we find is we actually have a really well distributed oil covering over this filter. We'll take a little bit more out of there. And what we generally see is that the moisture in here, if there's anything left, it'll come to the surface. So we'll take our rags again, put our rags over the filter. And we'll just absorb the excess moisture. Now we can see here what used to be very white is now got the blue tinge through it. Okay, we have our oil perfectly distributed through the filter. And now we can install it back onto the filter cage. Okay, you just want to make sure that your cage is perfectly clean as well. And once we've done that, we can put it on the bike. Okay, but what will happen here is with that moisture, as I said, it makes oiling your filter very easy, and it's going to ensure that you get maximum performance. Okay, now remember that any more oil than just enough is too much. Okay, we just want to catch the dust and no more. If we put too much oil in there, it inhibits the motor's ability to breathe and performance is going to be lost. So we want the best balance between motor safety and motor performance.